Hey now, how it do? And Kmar here with Lurking with Attitude on IGTV. This is episode 8. With me today is Trey Miller, my regular guest and co-host today. Let me introduce Ian. Ian is from New World Water, and as you know, let's see, where is my water bottle? There it is. New World Water is our store sponsor. They offer the highest quality drinking water that you've probably found before in a retail space. We're going to find out about the history of New World Water, and I suppose that what I'm hopeful is that you'll all tune in and watch the edited version of this on YouTube with the wider camera angle. Yeah, everybody over there has to kind of see us. It's kind of hard doing two cameras at once. It's hard for my studio guests because we want to speak directly to the people that are in the studio watching us live, but in the pre-recorded thing we're really not speaking to the camera too, so we kind of will be doing a combination of both of those things. I think it's kind of primarily important to speak to the good camera because that's what does come edited up to YouTube on a weekly basis in 1080 HD. So, Green Neighbor, what's going on out there? Are you pulling down Green Lantern? How's all those tasty strains I saw that day at your place? And Peter, you doing well? It was good to see you the other night down in San Clemente for Dad's birthday.
When did you go to San Clemente?
Well, I didn't go to San Clemente, but anyway, here you go.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and get on to our topic. Trey, since I guess we're just kind of got two different things going on.
That's alright, dude. The more the better.
Here we go. All right. Well, that's one of the things. You know, I remember one day you mentioned when I came into the water store, we talked about seeing John Mayer on Instagram on his TV show Current Mood, and I forget. Oh, I think we were talking about Camp High, if it wasn't anything else. That's what he was wearing, and
yeah. Then you rolled in with one.
oh yeah. Well, I've kind of I'm doing the Camp High counselor thing for all the Camp High campers. I'm trying to set a good example of being.
Camp High counselor.
Yeah, I'm a counselor at Camp High.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does it pay well?
Yeah, it does. It does. It has a lot of. Well, you lurk for perks.
Oh.
So it's another lurking thing.
Lurk for perks.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Right. Well, you know what? Ian and his dear, sweet, significant other, Casey, at the New World Water Store, have one of the most unique businesses that really I can say that I know of, because they not only provide the most sincere and genuine customer service, but also provide. I've been speaking to my brother about fluoridation, and I think it's kind of discarded in that conspiracy realm. But
Which is weird to me that it's discarded.
I do too. I think that,
It's like you go to a dentist, the last thing a dentist lets you do when you get a fluoride treatment is swallow the fluoride. So
it's on. There's a
but
poison control phone number on the toothpaste with the fluoride, and it's a byproduct of aluminum, correct? That we buy from China, if I'm not mistaken.
Aluminum manufacturing, also phosphate, like fertilizer. Depends. There's a lot of different sources of it, but
I've heard it's like a main ingredient in Prozac.
fluorine, which is a derivative of fluoride, yes. So there is some.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that you are mass medication. It's
See,
mass
that's
medication. Yeah, but that's when you get into conspiracy realm. You know.
Sure.
Allegedly, it's for your teeth. Which you get a topical treatment of fluoride. I do not doubt that probably has. Although there is fluorosis is a real problem when you over fluoridate someone's teeth. You know, there is. You can question what a fluoride treatment does topically to your teeth, but the last thing you should do is swallow it, which is why a tube of toothpaste says, if you ingest this, call somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I find it pretty interesting that it is held with regard without scrutiny, like many things, I think.
Well, we used to. Sorry.
No,
I cut
you
you
go
off.
ahead. No, you didn't. I want to know what you
we're
have to
We're
say.
just getting right into it here.
It's good. That's what it's. That's what it's about. I want to know. You know, I mean, I think fluoride is one of the main proprietaries of wanting clear water. I mean, what are the other things that are important in purified water to have removed?
Well, you know, we do have a lot of customers that come in that are specifically worried about fluoride. So there are, you know, medical conditions where people are really trying to avoid it. I mean, the thing about city water or even well water for that matter, like it's never consistently the exact same product every single day. You know, it does fluctuate, so we pay attention to the city, like, you know, water report. You know, there's all kinds of like barium, aluminum. I mean, arsenic. There's so many different things. Glyphosate is one of them, but it fluctuates with whatever is being dumped into the rivers, really. So, you know, when you're talking about the water, it's never quite the exact same thing. Now, consistently, the city is putting in things like chlorines, chloramines to kill everything in the water, which is great. I mean, there's a reason for that. You don't want bugs growing in the water, but at the same time, if it's killing everything else in the water, slowly over time, you know, it's not necessarily good for your biology. So chlorines, chloramines, glyphosate is huge. Microplastics, you know, microplastics are even falling in the rain now. So there's microplastics all in the water as well. And then, you know, forget the water treatment facilities. Then you got to talk about what is the water picking up on its way to coming out of your faucet. You know, that's again, you know, one of those wild cards where you don't really know. Like, you know, you could have a house with old lead pipes that you don't even know about. The corrosion that happens, you know, there's so many different variables that can happen all the way to when it actually comes out of your tap. So, you know, I could go on and on and on about what's in it.
Yeah.
You know, it all fluctuates. It all depends on where you live. What we deal with here, you know, in Humboldt is different than what, you know, if you're in the middle of LA. It's a slightly different story, which is, you know, kind of brings us back because I was living in San Diego, which is when we got the inspiration to start the water store. Because the water in San Diego was absolutely terrible.
No, I have heard about the community of the San Diego area having a struggle for a long time, didn't they, with the court systems? And weren't they kind of adamantly? Wasn't there some? I've seen a documentary about San Diego in particular. They fighting about the fluoride in the system.
Yeah, lots of municipalities fighting about fluoride, but I mean, I think one of the not a large portion, but a significant portion of San Diego water is recycled. So that's not just that's not like us here, where a lot of it comes out of the rivers and then is treated. Recycled water means it's getting flushed down the toilet, going back into the system. They're filtering out certain elements, and San Diego is one of those places where people are becoming antibiotic resistant because we're consuming so many antibiotics and then excreting so many antibiotics into the water system, where the actual water treatment facilities aren't designed to be removing antibiotics. So we're becoming immune to some of those because of our exposure to them
That's
in things like
interesting.
the water.
That's wild.
It's creepy. Yeah, it's super creepy. That's why, you know, when you're worried about water, it all depends on where you're at and what they're doing to it. It's different no matter where you go.
I sure know that you have the steady clientele that you do because of the quality of your product, and I feel different when I drink it. I know that I'm really enjoying being able to enjoy the Biocera water with the additional minerals and so on and so forth. Since you've been sponsoring the show, I've been able to have the good stuff. So thank you so much again for that.
Oh, that's your boys.
That's okay.
Do you want to share?
No, yeah, well,
I'll drink mine on your behalf.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
I didn't know if you wanted to know first. That's why I just had to help you out. It's all good.
I did, but I
No,
just
it's
want
all
to make
good,
sure.
bro.
Thank you.
So back to San Diego, in the history of the water store, how it all happened
Uh-huh.
15 years ago. So Casey and I found out we were having a daughter, and if you know the official name of the water store is Miss Aya's New World Water,
Correct.
and Miss Aya was our
I know
daughter.
Okay.
Instead, in rapid fashion, you can call it Messiah.
Oh,
She was
okay.
our little Messiah.
Wow, I really thought that had something to do with his wife.
No, my mother.
Yes. Okay,
No.
that's your mom.
Yeah. No, it was our daughter, Aya. So Messiah.
Oh,
She was our little Messiah. And my
Messiah.
parents at that time,
So
I had moved to San Diego. We were living in Ocean Beach. OB's great. The water was absolutely terrible. And then we were frequenting the water store that's in OB that apparently is it's not there anymore. And just because the water was so bad. And even then, we weren't really like necessarily that conscious of it. It was just you got water out of the tap, and it was really that bad that we ended up at the water store. Then my daughter found out I'm having a child. My parents were kind of in limbo, trying to figure out what they're gonna do. They came to hang out with us in San Diego. Took my father over to the water store. Be like, hey, we go over here all the time. We started talking about water and all these things. And the more and more and more we thought about it, we were like, wow, this is amazing. And I forget the guy's name who owned the place. He ended up selling it a long time ago.
Huh. So it's something similar to what you've got here that
It was-
you saw somewhere else.
It was similar, yeah. It was similar, different flavor. I mean, they had all kinds of other things going on. They were selling.
Well, I love your
smoothies.
esoteric, the products that they sell, as well as the water at Messiah's New World Water.
Well,
is-
and even the what we have physically going on in the water, there's an esoteric element to it, which we can get to in a minute.
Yeah.
So we're not doing in San Diego.
Oh, okay. So they at that point they didn't know about what's Dr.
Victor Schauberger
Okay.
or Emoto.
Yeah,
Dr.
Emoto.
I mean, they maybe
Were aware, but it
maybe,
wasn't,
Yeah. It was a basic, just reverse osmosis, commercial reverse osmosis system that was providing clean water. There was no alkaline at that time. Alkaline water was not really a thing back then.
Well, I can remember your dad saying that it wasn't beneficial.
Yeah, he wasn't into it, and we can get into that too.
I would like to really pay homage to him because he
Yeah.
was such a wonderful character. They've got, when you go into New World Water through the rear entrance, which things have kind of changed. That's not the entrance any longer. You can only come in through the front door. But there's the upside down map of the globe, and it's a different map. It's not an azimuthal equidistant map. But it's all upside down and from a different perspective. Your father definitely had a different perspective.
Oh yeah, and people still talk about him to this day. So when I was working some corporate job back in California. They showed up because my daughter was born, and my parents, we had not been living. They were living far away place, and we were trying to figure out a way to stick together as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And that was ultimately the goal. Was like, and my goal wasn't to live in San Diego. We had just moved there, and I had not lived there very long. So we decided, like, hey, this is awesome. This water thing. There's something to this. So my father and I took a road trip. I was like, well, we're not gonna do this in Southern California. Where should we go? And I had been, all up and down the West Coast and stuff, and I had fallen in love with Arcata a long time ago. And I was like, well, there's a few stops. So we went up to Bend, Oregon. We were in like Eugene. We had all these like spots that we were just checking out. We actually tested the water in all these places.
Wow. This story's getting better and better. This is awesome.
Well, and the water in Oregon was actually pretty good, and Oregonians are also pretty proud of their water as well. So we figured, it would be a hard sell. We have to think this was 15 years ago too,
Mm-hmm.
where water store now everybody's like, oh yeah, but 15 years ago, like everybody was like, well,
I remember.
what the fuck are you doing?
I remember even when you guys opened, it was kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people still that. You guys have actually kind of brought this to another level, I think.
Yeah, we had somebody just yesterday come in. Like we had, obviously all kinds of crazy people come in. They're like, you can't sell water, and like you can't really explain what we're doing to somebody like that. Anyway.
Well,
so
yeah, go ahead. No, I was interrupting. Go
well,
ahead.
and we tested the water in Oregon. It was actually the tap water as that was at that point in time, 15 years ago. It wasn't so bad. And we're like, okay, that's probably a hard sell. And I was like, my dad was unfamiliar with Arcata, and I was like, yeah, there's this spot. I love this place. I don't know how we could do it, but like, there's another little town down the coast. It's Arcata. And he was like, cool. We were up on the Oregon coast. I fed him mushrooms for the first time.
Oh, wow.
In 30 years.
Okay.
To take it there.
Uh-huh.
That's what happened. So, and he hadn't eaten them in a while. We were on the Oregon coast, saw whales, like loved it.
Oh, cool.
Then we rolled into Arcata, and I was like, this is the place. And then like he got there, and he was like, this is it. And I was like, you're right, this is it. And he's like, we're gonna do it. And I was like, okay, let's figure it out. And then then they opened the store.
Well, so and let's for someone that's maybe not aware of exactly what it is that you do. I remember some of the information that I read in one of the first episodes, but it's how many steps is the process of your purification?
So the first step is just cleaning the water, and yes, that is like a 7-stage reverse osmosis system.
Mm.
So it starts out with sediment filters, blocking all the big stuff. Then it goes down to carbon.
They're huge filters, though. They're like 6 feet tall, aren't they?
Those are probably the storage tanks, but the filters are good. 4 feet tall
Okay.
for sure. The filters are large. And that's all the behind the scenes stuff that people don't actually notice, and how much work goes into it.
And so what would be the difference, say, for example, from the ones that where you go into a water machine at one of your better grocery stores like Wild Berries or the Co-op or something like that? Is there, how much difference is there in that?
Well, number one, I don't 100% know what's going into those systems, so
Right.
I can't
But
claim
it
to know.
seems
But
that they would have less steps.
knowing what I see, yes. So, they are outsourcing those machines. So there's like, as far as I know, third-party companies coming in and sort of servicing them,
Replacing the filter every
checking it out, seeing what's going on. But it's definitely not a daily thing like we're doing. So there's that. Number one is we have our eyeballs on everything that's going on in there every single day. And they claim that it's RO coming out of some of those machines, I believe, but
reverse osmosis.
Yeah, the thing about ROs, it is very slow. So, which is why we have the storage tanks that we do. So you have to slowly. So when you're at the water store, you're pulling from our tanks. It's not real time. Like I think most people think like it's a real time process. Like we're filtering it as it's coming out of the faucet, but it's not. RO is super slow, so you have to fill these tanks up first, and then when you're at the store, you're drawing from the tanks. You're not drawing, and the system's constantly filling the tanks while you're drawing from it.
Wow.
So you have to store a large amount of water to distribute large amounts of water. So if you go to the store, that machine is pretty small. So if it is doing that, like that's a small tank, like I don't know if those things ever run out. I'm not sure. I don't know the ins and outs.
I remember at the Co-op they just came in and it was kind of like when you would have at your sink where a filter gets replaced and it was done by the...
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean. I don't think that's RO because they're obviously not storing large amounts of water on site in that little machine.
Sure,
so it's most likely going through a sediment
That's what
filter.
that's what
It's
my
going through
question
carbon.
was.
And which is absolutely better than nothing.
Sure.
But at the same time, if those things can harbor lots of bacteria, if you're not on it, if you're not replacing those that system and on top of it, it can get dirty and gross, and people can even taste it. Like I can't tell you how many times, like when we're closed and people go over to the water store, or they go to the Co-op and fill up, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't taste right."
It's not. I have to have your water. It's really crazy. It's all I drink. It's all I want to drink. And if I do have to go re-up at the other places because you guys aren't open,
you notice.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just that I don't know. It's become like breath or something. It's I certainly feel like the source, and then I got a lot of good information originally. I know that I had asked Casey about the documentary called Water, the Great Mystery. If you've...
I haven't seen it.
It's fantastic. It's hard to find it in a... it's hard to find a good source. It used to be on VMO, but I don't think it, like if you do see it on YouTube, it has like poor quality unless I'm having a hard time getting a source for a nice HD vision of it. But it starts off showing the ocean, and it talks about the annual rainfall and the cycle of water that goes into the atmosphere and then returns, and that there's a consistent source, and that in nature it always has a natural curve, that there aren't these 90-degree bends and so forth, and turns in pipes and in closed circuits or whatever it is in a city system where everything moves around and up in unnatural ways. And it talks about water having memory, and probably some of the stuff that the Japanese scientist or doctor that made those discoveries about water molecules and so forth having memory and being affected by environment and so on and so forth.
Thoughts.
Yeah. Memory.
Yeah. And I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Maybe I've seen it and I don't even know, but that's spot on, and that's one thing that we're doing. It's not like we are claiming to have the best water you could possibly ever get your hands on. This is a symptom of a system of municipal water that isn't necessarily the best thing for us. Yes, if you have a spring that has constantly been moving and clean, that is ultimately the best possible option. But we live in a world where that's not the option anymore. We're all in the city, and so the water store is our best guess at reformulating and basically mimicking nature. So one of the things that little known fact that we have at the store is all of our pipes, which were really expensive, have, not all of them, significant portion or pieces of our pipes have these vortex structure through inside the copper piping that mimics sort of the natural flow of nature. That not only reduces the surface tension, which we can talk about what that's all about, that reduces the surface tensions, but it mimics the flow of nature. So that water is never stagnant other than when we throw it in a city treatment plant. Then it sits, which is why they have to put chlorine in there in the first place, because moving water doesn't grow bacterias and viruses and pathogens. It's when we put it in a city municipal supply system and let it sit. That's why they got to chloridate it. That's why there's chloramines, chloride. You got to clean it at that point.
Interesting.
And so that's what we're trying to do, but at the same time, you want to keep it constantly moving. So not only do our pipes have, it's based on the philosophy of Victor Schauberger. You can look him up. He was a fascinating guy, Austrian naturalist that discovered the naturally flowing rhythms of nature, and he went on to build UFOs and things, which was really weird.
Wow.
But you keep it moving. So our storage tanks also are introducing constantly putting ozone in the water, which is just oxygen, and you want it constantly in motion, because as soon as anything becomes stagnant, like if you sit around on your ass all day, it's not healthy. And water's the same way. If it sits still and does nothing, it gets fat and unhealthy.
Interesting.
Dr. Masaru Emoto was the doctor that they talked about in What the Bleep Do We Know, I think is where I first discovered intentions in
I forgot
water.
all about What the Bleep Do You Know.
Yeah.
That was a game changer.
That and Eckhart Tolle, those two things around the same point in my life really changed my life. But really having the well, and I remember your dad having all those blank
DVDs.
Yeah, the DVDs. You could get copies of Zeitgeist and chemtrail videos and stuff like that. He was on the forefront of. We also talked about the difficulty he would have with current events, and I'm almost afraid to get sidetracked by that at this point. Let's. What I'd like to get there. Yeah.
Dude, I got a question. So, dude, what can you tell us about the vitamins in the water that you can pick up from your store?
So I would say the more minerals.
Minerals, vitamins.
Hydrogen, molecules. Yeah, so we do offer a couple different options, but Biosera has taken off to be one of the most popular. Biosera is utilizing basically infrared ceramics and tourmaline which is technology that was formulated in the 1980s, and they're basically just ceramic balls. So everything in our store starts out as RO, so it's stripped everything out of the water. So you're starting with the baseline, and then we'll reintroduce a couple different options. One of them, which has become the most popular, is Biosera, and it runs the water through these ceramic balls. And the reason why, just for anybody that's there, and sometimes people, sitting around, why is it taking so long to fill up? It's because if we up the flow of the water through our Biosera filter, it wouldn't pick up as many of these minerals that I'm talking about. So we actually have to physically slow it down so that it picks up more.
Yeah, it's something me and my wife saw. Probably, it's right before we started becoming customers in your store, like 3 or 4 months ago, and we just watched some documentary on Netflix and found out like it was somewhere in another country or something where like France, where it's like there's tons of minerals in their water, but then they started comparing it to the U.S. and they have like a bunch of scientists and studies where there's like no minerals in the water that comes out of the tap. Or you go to like Dasani, and some of those bottles that like are in the school vending machines don't have any like any.
A lot of that's tap water.
Yeah, and any
Dasani
minerals
specifically.
So it was really interesting. And then so something else, growing up, I used to drink this. I think it was I don't know what the brand was of this bottled water, but I felt like it would dry my mouth out after I drank it. And I told my stepdad, and he was like, "No, you're playing, like you're tripping. It's water."
Yeah.
But then in that
there's something
documentary,
to that.
they were talking about like certain water can dehydrate you. Because, yeah. And so I was like, "Damn, dude."
So then that brings us back to like the Biosera. So what the infrared ceramics are doing is not only in reintroducing the 23 trace minerals that we all need to survive, but it's also introducing things like molecular hydrogen, negative ions, and it's micro-clustering the water, which is also in combination with the piping I was talking about. Nature, when water is flowing, it naturally restructures the actual physical water molecule into microclusters because it's moving. It's when you put it into a city, treatment facility where, again, stagnant water that they have to chlorinate, the water molecules actually cluster into clumps. And this is not like some woo-woo. This is like science, like surface tension. That's why you see bugs running across the water. It's usually still.
Yeah.
Because still water has a surface tension and water clusters that make bugs be able to run across it.
Yeah.
So, to your point, when you're drinking, and people tell us this all the time at the store. They're like, when I was drinking water, I felt like I was like dehydrated, like I couldn't drink enough water.
Yeah.
And it's partly because of the water clustering, and like what you're saying. So if you're drinking water that doesn't have these microclusters, hasn't been restructured, it's basically just going through you. You're not even, your cells aren't absorbing it because it's your cell walls can only handle one molecule at a time, basically, of water. And if it's clustered, it's just passing right by all your cells. And you are literally not, you think you're drinking water and you think you're hydrated, but you're not. So when you spin it and then you run it through something like the Biosera and the imaging, it's electrically finding random free radical oxygen molecules in your bloodstream and attaching to them and helping you remove them and get rid of them, which can, that's what leads to aging and wrinkles on your face and degeneration and, you name it. And of course, I guess I should say you don't get banned from me in the social networks. I'm not a doctor. I don't make any medical claims. These are just my opinions, my humbled opinions. But, and it's not like it's going to cure everything in your life. Life's a numbers game. There's so many things bombarding us, like so many things that lead to degeneration and aging and ill health. Drinking water like we provide is just one element that you can eliminate one more factor in your life to help you live your life. Food, environment, and there's so many other variables. Like this isn't one cure that's gonna fix everything in your life by drinking our water. It's just gonna help.
Yeah, for sure does help though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super funny that he's doing things like that now, but I'm pretty sure it was a Zac Efron documentary on Netflix and it was like one episode was about water.
Oh, really?
Dude, but it was so informational. Like, that's what actually made us find real water and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. Because we were like, damn, like what we're drinking is terrible. We already knew that drinking bottled water is terrible for the environment, so that sucks. But then we were like, dude, what we're drinking isn't even good, and Haley's pregnant, so we're like, okay, we want you to be as hydrated as nutrient packed as we can be. And so we were at our midwife in Arcata, and that's when they were like, yeah, check out New
They
World
suggested
Water.
it.
Yeah, and so
Cool.
they're all customers, and so we were like, yeah, for sure, we're gonna run through that, and that's what started it all, and it's pretty interesting that you got them to come through.
Well, what's also to your point too, and like I said, especially now we've been very busy as of late. There were years where my father, like, we lost money. I used to have a full-time job. Like, we're 15 years later. It appears like it's working, but for a very long time, like, we were losing money. My
Wow.
dad, we were just doing it because we still believed in it, and we were customers because we were like, what are we gonna do if we don't have it? Because we have people now that they see the Water Stars, like, doing well, and people have embraced it, which was not the case 15 years ago. Everybody thought we were crazy, like, including Andy here.
Well, no, I just wasn't sure. Like, one thing that you have done is raised consciousness in the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, you guys really are a source and a hub for that. And the vibe that Casey and you give when you're there, that, you come in, you're welcome. It reminds me of kind of that whole, like in the television show Cheers, where everybody knows your name. It is really a community hub where people, all the customers there are conscientious or have a good level of consciousness about being health conscious.
Yeah, and I mean, I think especially given the current political climate and just the how much people are at each other's throats, how many friendships are ending, how many like relationships are ending. I mean, it's kind of like the coffee shops too. There's a long history of monarchs and the churches shutting down coffee shops because during this whole pandemic, it was one of the few places that people were actually allowed to go to as an essential service. So, being behind the counter and talking to our entire community and having our entire community, people from all walks of life, very different people that I would never probably see any other time in my life, coming there because we all have a common goal of wanting clean water. And everybody feeling okay, like, we felt like part-time therapists there for a minute. Like, everybody talking about, like, what do they
Casey
think's
is
going
for
on?
me. I know
Yeah.
she always gets the 9. She gets the whole rundown every time. I'm like, well, guess what's going on now?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and far more than me, for sure. And I should give Casey props too, because she has been doing holding down the Water Store for a very long time.
I mean,
yeah.
tirelessly. Just, I mean, through hail, through sleet, through snow.
Yes.
If you see this, Casey, and you're out there or watching, my goodness, there's nobody in the community that I see is merely as dedicated as you. Like, you have a dedication to what you are doing that is so admirable. I really do appreciate, and I know that that's a mutual feeling from the whole community as well.
Yeah. I mean, people see me sometimes at the store and they're like, "Where's Casey?"
Right. Well, and
Well, you
that's-
got me.
Since this
Sorry.
happened, I guess that is one of the good things that has come from the pandemic, as we've seen you working there.
She got a break.
Yeah,
which was
that's
great.
true.
Well, and I was always working other jobs. But, the one thing we wanted to do is not just providing a service that we actually legitimately believe in and are customers of. And, like, I'm not sure. I tell people all the time, I'm not sure what I would do without the Water Store, personally. But also providing a place, like, where the community, like, we've gotten so divided in this current political climate that we'll just skip what those politics are. But everybody's so divided and so opinionated. And we provided a space where, like, hey, you can say whatever you want and I'll listen to you. Casey will listen to you. Like, okay, cool. That's how you feel. Like, we hear you. Like, I may not agree with you, but we're all here together. We still basically have the same goals. So it's fine. Like, whoever you're voting for, I don't care. Like, and it's not just I don't know, a business thing. It's a community thing. We've provided a service that I think people have missed. Like, how many people we've talked to in the community and walked, like, just talk to each other, which there was such a lack of communication happening because it's all through these devices now, like, that people were at each other's throats and they needed somewhere to go and just talk. We were, like, literally the town watering hole, like, metaphorically and literally, you know, when people used to gather around the well. And,
Yeah, that's been a
stuff.
thing for a really long time.
Yeah.
Even looking historically, like in towns.
The watering hole. Like,
Yeah.
It means something. It's like, this is legit. We are the town watering hole. And you hear it all. We've heard it all. We've heard everybody's opinions. Like, and, you know, we welcome all of them. And in the end, we're all there for clean water. We're all there for something absolutely fundamental to all of our health. So I don't care who you're voting for. We still believe in this. And we're still together.
Yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
that you guys have been open. Because even for a minute there, dispensaries couldn't even let you in. You just had to do your order online or do it right there at the door. So it was nice to, I remember like my first time going in there, it was during the pandemic, and I was like, hold up, I had to figure out what to do first. And I was like, sweet, I can go in a store
Yeah,
and be
wow.
a customer. Like,
Yeah.
I
hate
can
to-
touch this, like I can touch this handle right here and fill this up.
Hey, I
It was
hate
just
to
nice.
interrupt our
You're
conversation
good, dude.
because we are at that point that is one of our favorites here at Lurking with Attitude. It's our musical section of the show, our Enlightenment by Bob Starace. So I see that Bob's dog
Yes.
Barker's here, and Bob, so I'll turn this camera around and let me get up and move the other one. And we're going to get a chance to have a musical enlightenment, y'all. So let's get this camera turned around. And
What's happening, Bob?
Not too much. How you
Bob,
doing?
this is Ian from New World Waters, our in-studio guest today.
Oh,
and-
cool. Is that the water shop up in Arcata?
Yeah.
Right on.
So thanks again for being here to play for us. And
Yeah, never know what you'll get. Maybe it'll be a good tune.
oh, I'm sure it is. You're always enlightening with your musical performances.
Yep, try to switch it up.
Thanks for being here.
All right, here it goes.
Bravo! Magnifico! Magnifico!
What's on the end of what is this blue thing here?
Oh, the tuner.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Got it.
I keep tuning
Got
and
it.
it keeps going out of tune.
Well, what about any inspiring words of wisdom? Did you bring anything special? Maybe you could enlighten
Let's
us with.
see. Well, in these trying political times, yeah, build bridges, not dams, whenever possible.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
All right. Hope to
Very
see you next week. Thanks, guys. All right. Always a pleasure. We're pretty blessed to have such quality entertainment here at Lurking with Attitude on IGTV. Let me get back on the set here. And yeah, we were just having a really good conversation, and I know that I sure have appreciated you coming on the show today. Let's see, we got a few more minutes, it looks like. Well, I appreciate what you do on Instagram with your video work as well. I gotta say, I think that you bring a pretty good message to the world, my friend.
Yeah, it's interesting because I sort of keep my personal life and my New World Water life somewhat separated.
Mm-hmm.
But I have for a long time. I had other jobs till recently and videography and things like that. So I've got a knack for video.
Cool. Yeah, you've got well, you inspired me and got me to want to get some software that. Trey, can you scoot around now? If you can adjust the monitor so we can see it, but you've got to pull it back at like a 90-degree angle to be able to turn it and flip it the direction because of the microphone wire. So that'll just like.
Yeah.
Let me show you. There you go. You can't do it like that because of the cord. So you got to put it back that way. There you go. Now you can turn it, and then it'll go that direction. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. And maybe it looks like I'm going to have to do some WebOvision adjustments like usual, but now we seem to be level. All right. Well, great. Well, we were just coming into the topic that when Bob came up to play music about the differences in societal norms now, and I know I personally was affected by having a friendship fall to the wayside that I've had for decades over a lack of tolerance, acceptance, or whatever it may be when someone is unwilling to accept people's different opinions and feel like...
I feel like it's something we've lost.
To me, I've seen this pandemic be something that is a way to examine how judgmental we truly are. Are we judging harshly, or are we choosing to allow others to feel and believe what they do without judging them? And it got called to my attention that because of the way I feel about things, that I was endangering other people's lives, and there was a prediction of who I'm voting for, and it wasn't who I'm intending on voting for whatsoever. So a lot of times I just feel like, maybe the perception you're having of another person even could be misaccurate, and I don't know. I commend you guys having that open forum for everyone to, like you said, be a community hub, the watering well of, some sort of sanctity. There's a refuge and a center point of the community there that I'm glad you've persevered. I remember when before the masks became so prevalent that it was something that we were kind of apprehensive of and have had to kind of, I imagine that it's taken a lot of, I don't know, what's it been like as a business owner having to contend with the business changing so drastically?
Like I said, I feel like we've become part-time therapists in a way. So it's not quite what it was, but when we were the only other option other than the grocery stores and the gas stations, really, the essential services, like we were the only place where people that normally wouldn't talk to each other via like any social media, but you're part, you're part of a community. You talk to your online community, and it becomes sort of your own little bubble. But you break out of that and you talk to people that are totally outside your bubble, and you hear different perspectives. I think we've lost so much like face-to-face interaction that it's easy to just reinforce our beliefs because of these devices and the algorithms that feed us what we want to see versus maybe what we need to see. And face-to-face interaction, like there's nothing quite like face-to-face interaction. You see somebody face-to-face, you come talk to us at the water store, I may not agree with you, but we can at least acknowledge face to face. That we're both humans. We
Well,
have the same goal, and
and
we're
I-
not. When I'm not your enemy, I'm not your enemy.
That's what's so disappointing for
Yeah.
me to suffer what I feel like is mourning of a true friendship is that there's not the ability to accept that like it's okay for us to have different cosmologies or concepts or feelings or thoughts and not have to share them eye to eye, but still have acceptance and tolerance and respect for one another.
Or pick a political football team that you're either on my team or their team.
Uh-huh.
You know.
You need to adjust the camera just if you can bring the frame of the picture up to his right shoulder, and then you'll be included in the frame. There we go. Just a little bit more. There we go. That's good. Perfect. Now I think we'll pick you up a little bit more. Good. Well, you were out of frame there, so I didn't.
That's all right.
But well, I tell you, we'll be winding down probably within a little bit here, and so we'll wind down the show. It's been an honor to have you on here. There's so much to discuss. At one point, I had asked you about, really going more in depth to it's really one of those things. It's so in depth that it's just a rabbit hole. It's like in that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know, that we were mentioning earlier. We say, well, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
For sure.
Because-
I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole and be here for hours. and
Absolutely.
hours.
That's one of the things when I was like, oh, we got to put this show into an hour, and you just hit the surface of stuff when there's. But I think that it's really what we can do and hope to do. Number one is possibly live by example and influence others to maybe follow the lead that you're taking when it's the high road instead of the low road, and I think there's an ability for the change that it's occurring to evolve into I don't know. I'm hopeful that we could only continue to do what we've always done and learn to do as far as getting a positive out of a negative. And like I said, I know that I can really assess that I'm being judgmental or if I'm being judged and find others. If anything, I'm a little too critical of people that are judging people so harshly. If you just, it's easy to do name calling and
Well, what's interesting is that, that was partly what bringing it all back to the water store, and, just my father, who people still to this day come up to me like, oh, what would your dad be saying right now? Because he was very opinionated, not afraid to share his opinion. Like, I'm convinced the water store would have been shut down if he was still here. Because he stuck to his convictions. And
that
his
I can
opinion.
see.
Yeah.
You
And I
said
can
that
see-
he wouldn't have been able to have gotten through the last
Yeah,
election
the
without
election-
a coronary, let alone
Yeah.
how would he deal with this?
Yeah,
stuff?
no, the last election, everything that's happened before till now, like he stood his ground, but that was partly what has attracted us to Humboldt County in general. Like, forever it was a counterculture, which I feel like is not quite what it used to be. But that's part of what drove people here thought differently. People they obviously had a different source of income for a long time here.
Mhm.
And it wasn't the norm mainstream America, and that was partly why when we got here we were like, yes, like people think like us, and I feel like we've lost some of that in this area. I could be wrong, but I talked to a lot of people, and I still want the water store to be not only a place that we could go down the rabbit hole of how good it is for you to drink that water, and me too. Like I said, we're just customers, but to also a place where you can be introduced to ideas and people that you may not normally deal with, And,
True that.
And but we all recognize we're still here. We still have the same goal. We might have different opinions about whatever it is. Who cares? But we all believe in clean water. So, yeah, combine. We go down the rabbit hole.
This has been a trip. This year has been something I hope is going to end up being in the past and not as much in the future. Who knows what the solutions and the resolutions will be, but we're certainly midway in a film. It's who knows what the outcome's likely to be. It certainly increases on the mainstream narrative front anyway, on a daily basis.
For sure, and I think on a positive note, just because again I've seen it, is based on the current situation we're in, I can't tell how many new water store customers we have with people that are like finally is a catalyst for people to be like, whoa, I need to take care of myself. I need to be healthy, like, which is what we should all be focused on versus waiting around for somebody else to make us healthy.
I gotta say, the pace of life slowing down a little bit. Like when I was still, I was considered an essential worker. So there was a point when it was first, when the stay-at-home orders were whatnot, that whatever it was called, there was so many less people on the road and so much less tension and stress just in the air. And I think it's been beneficial for a lot of people to slow down and have gotten more artistic and creative. And I know
I slowed down. I mean, I was working another job. That's why Casey was holding it down every day, because I was doing something else and was being taken to other places, and I've slowed down myself. It's the most time I've spent at home in 15 years, and been with my daughter, and actually get to talk to people that are like, it's funny because they're at the water store and they think I'm just some young guy that is just working there, and I'm like, no, I've been around since day one, day number one. I've been involved in this place. I've just always been usually working another job, and Casey was too, and people don't even know me. They're like, oh, whoa.
And I got to know you as a result of this year. I mean, there's just, like you said, there's been maybe there's a snowball effect of things going in a more positive direction than they were going the other way somehow. That's what I'm saying, is that like there's got to be good come out of this. But I think that's kind of what it's up for those of us in a grassroots movement to really want to try to keep everybody in mind of. And you've got a forum to do that. I'm trying to put a platform out there that gives everybody the concepts of the 5D manifestation, abundance, creation, and in tune with source, and moving from the dynamics of the third dimension that we all live in. And it's tough to, got to go 3D, 4D, 5D, I think, but I don't know, you can look into those things, and I'm probably getting into that rabbit hole, but...
well, and you can't get caught up in the other rabbit hole, which is, you better believe as history has shown us over and over and over again, that, there are things happening behind the scenes, especially with intelligence agencies, and everybody's at their throats, and the divide and rule strategy is very real. And I think we need to not succumb to that, because there's a lot of money being spent to divide us all right now, and that usually never ends well.
On the top, we'll get back on our normal cannabis topics next week. I wanted to address that we've faced another round of forest fires in the area, and a lot of people have had to adapt and pivot, and but I'm sorry that you may have felt. We've got to do something about our.
No, this is great.
Well, it's this Instagram format to do it on.
Good.
Yeah, good. I just didn't want you to feel left out. But our in studio guests are really upscaling the content on Lurking with Attitude, and having subject experts such as yourself to come share. I kind of feel like water is definitely, there's not more of a source other than, it's one of the natural elements, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it's 60 to 70% of all of us.
That's true too. That was something that we didn't. What were you talking about? Surface. There was
surface tension. Yeah, just microclustering.
There was one thing, the camera went off when you were just getting into the part you did. It cut you off in a really good flow about the free radicals.
Yes. So the Biosera filters that have, and this is something I should bring up before I address that, is that we brought in Biosera as a test, and explain the benefits to a lot of people. But at this point, it's become the most popular. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, kind of like what you said, or like, I drank it and I actually feel like I'm hydrated finally. So many people have said that to us. And the fact of how much people gravitate towards it, it's the most expensive stuff we have, because it's also very expensive for us to have. But, just the fact that people keep coming back and they're like, I don't know what it is, but I love it. And it is, a combination of all the minerals, not just that some people just love the taste. Some people are just like, I just like the taste, and they may not even know, like, all the other benefits, they don't even care. But when you're adding molecular hydrogen and negative ions more to your life, like I said, it's not going to save your life, but it is scavenging, not only making you more hydrated, but it's scavenging free radicals across your body. and just so you can eliminate those free radicals and live a life that just eliminates one more factor in an environment that is just full of toxins. Water is just one more piece. You might as well eliminate that piece
They recommend
from your load.
they say that toxins are kind of loosened or released while you sleep, and that like having a nice amount of water in the morning when you first wake up is a very good idea.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Americans on average are
I go straight to coffee.
chronically dehydrated,
Mm.
and there's plenty. You can go down the rabbit hole of look up are you sick or are you just dehydrated? Like that leads to so much of our health problems, which is interesting given the times right now, where if you look at the powers that be, they're not on TV telling you, hey, drink hydrogenated water that's got a lower surface tension, that's got 23 trace minerals that could just help
Why
you. Like,
is that?
And eat this and eat that. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's not there's not this lack of health focus that
That's right.
if you're really worried about us, you'd be suggesting all of these things, including whatever water, like whatever, even if you're not at our store, any kind of water filtration system is better than none. And why are we being told that?
You heard it on Lurking with Attitude. Ian, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. Time's winding down. I want to thank both Ian, if you'd like to follow, and he lets you on there. His IG, Ian Sane, is pretty good. This does this
Yes.
every time at the end. Follow Ian Sane. And Trey Miller, my co-host, my comrade, my homie, my partner in crime. Thanks again for being here, and we appreciate anybody that's sticking with us and watching Lurking with Attitude. We're going to try to keep bringing it. Everybody, it's that time of year we're all crushing, so keep crushing. I know that everybody's giving their all this time of year, so remember to breathe, and until then, stay tuned.